Etymology and historical origin of the baby name Pedro. Pedro is the Spanish and Portuguese equivalent of Peter. The name Peter is ultimately derived from the Greek word petros, meaning stone, rock. The name is born in the New Testament by one of Christ's apostles, a fisherman and brother of Andrew, another disciple. Originally called Simon, he was given the nickname Peter or Rock by Jesus himself, Petros in Greek and Cephas in Aramaic, and is therefore often referred to as Simon Peter. In Matthew 16 verses 17 to 18, Jesus says explicitly, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, and I tell you, you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church." Clearly, Jesus played favorites and Peter was his main man. Not only is Peter considered the founder of the Christian Church, the rock upon which it was built, but he is also regarded as the first pope in Roman Catholic tradition, since Jesus gave Peter the keys of the kingdom of heaven. In fact, it is Saint Peter that Christians expect to meet at the pearly gates of heaven one day. The name Peter has enjoyed enduring popularity since the Middle Ages throughout Europe. The most familiar forms of the name Peter in other languages include Pedro in Spanish, Pietro in Italian, and Pierre in French. Personality of the boy named Pedro. The number 4 personality is marked by stability and discipline. This is the personality that follows the rules and is conservative by nature. They have an earthbound energy that prefers to build things methodically on top of firm foundations. They don't cut corners. 4s take their time and don't like to be hurried. But the outcome of their endeavors is likely to result in some strong and useful structure, which makes them great engineers and inventors. 4s are anything but frivolous or controversial. This is a trustworthy, straightforward personality that embodies dedication and organization. They are the backbone and anchor in their relationships, careers, and communities. They are tidy, punctual, and full of integrity. Hard work comes naturally to a 4, and they are immensely reliable. This is the personality you can always count on. Popularity of the boy named Pedro. Pedro has been on the American naming charts for well over a century, and has mostly enjoyed consistently moderate success. The name increased in usage along with the growing Hispanic and Latino populations in the United States. Pedro is still ranked in the top 50 in Spain and the top 100 in Mexico. In 2009, Pedro was the 3rd most popular boy's name in Brazil, where it seems to enjoy a particular amount of success. Pietro is ranked high in Italy, as is Pierre in France. However, Peter and his Spanish brother Pedro have fallen down the charts in the United States since the turn of the 21st century. Perhaps these names are considered too provincial for Americans today. Nevertheless, Pedro is a time-tested, classical name with a modern sensibility. Pedro is a name loaded with religious importance thanks to San Pedro, but it has also enjoyed the royal treatment as the name of 5 Portuguese kings dating back to the 14th century. Pedro is no wilting flower, this name is solid like a rock. Like the 2004 movie, Napoleon Dynamite asked, "We say yes. Let's all vote for Pedro." Quick facts on Pedro. Gender, boy. Origin, Spanish. Number of syllables, 2. Ranking popularity, 344. Pronunciation, Pedro. Simple meaning, stone rock. Characteristics of Pedro. Practical, solid, industrious, dependable, hardworking, conservative, studious. Cultural references to the baby name, Pedro. Literary characters of the baby name Pedro. Pedro is a character in Isabel Allende's 1982 debut, best-selling novel, The House of the Spirits. His father, Pedro II Garcia, is the foreman of Esteban Truba's estate. His grandfather, old Pedro Garcia, is a wise old man who has long been a retainer on the estate. Pedro Tercero befriends Truba's daughter, Blanca, when they are children and becomes her lover and the father of her child when they grow up. He is a young revolutionary songwriter with dreams of social freedom for his country. Esteban Truba considers him a communist and despises him for it. Furthermore, he is infuriated by Pedro Tercero's relationship with his daughter, and tries to kill him. In a twist of fate, Pedro Tercero is placed in a position to later save Esteban's life, and Esteban arranges for the safe escape of his daughter and Pedro Tercero to Canada after the military coup in Chile. Throughout his life, he remains committed to his vision and devoted to Blanca, both of which endeavors bring him much sorrow and pain. Pedro Romero is a very attractive character in Ernest Hemingway's 1926 novel, The Sun Also Rises, which was also made into a movie in 1957. He is a gifted young bullfighter with a passion for his chosen profession. He is beautiful both in and out of the arena. Everything that he does is done with grace and dignity, and he makes the expatriate Americans look foolish by comparison. He even gets the girl for a while, Lady Brett Ashley, but even she is moved to lofty heights of character by his person, choosing to leave him rather than be in any way responsible for ruining his career. Remember the Hollywood producer, Robert Evans? He played Pedro in the movie. That's how good-looking this guy is. Don Pedro is one of the main characters in Shakespeare's popular 1598/99 comedy, Much Ado About Nothing. He is a prince among men, both literally and figuratively. As a politically prominent figure, he exercises his social rights, and sets about marrying off his good friends, Benedict, to Beatrice, and Claudio, to Hero, often with unexpected results. At one point, he himself asks Beatrice to marry him, but she turns him down. Naturally, there is identity switching going on in all corners, all in the usual Renaissance notion of good fun. Ultimately, Don Pedro's matchmaking endeavors pay off, and everyone pairs off happily except the prince himself. We might advise him to be a little more selfish next time, and don't take no for an answer so easily. Why do the nice guys finish last? Don Pedro de Mendez is a minor but pivotal character in Jonathan Swift's 1728 classic, Gulliver's Travels. He is a sea captain who assists Gulliver in leaving the island of the Howans, and he does so in a spirit of generosity that is scarcely acknowledged by Gulliver. He brings the brooding Gulliver as far as Lisbon, providing him with passage, food, clothing and money, as well as a patient ear for Gulliver's rantings and ravings. He stops Gulliver from committing suicide, and he persuades him to honor his duty to return to his wife and children. What he gets in return is disdain and mulish behavior. It is often posited that Swift created Pedro de Mendez as a foil for Gulliver, as a shining example of the purity of action of which humans are capable, in stark contrast to the dire and cynical musings of Gulliver. We tend to agree. Popular songs on Pedro. No Way, Pedro, a song by David Houston. Little Pedro, a song by Van Morrison. Famous people named Pedro. Pedro Alberto Llosa, copyright Navy, former president of Argentina. Pedro, soccer player. Pedro Almodóvar, superscript 3 var, Spanish film director. Pedro Martinez, baseball player. Pedro Menéndez de Aviles, Spanish explorer, helped colonize Florida.